Hey everybody, this is Thank You, happy to be here once again, test driving some new operating system, new to me anyway. As always, it's just new to me. And what we've got here, we got another version of Linux. Pardon my K-Patience screen there. I won because that's how I like to play. I'm just feeling good about things. I got a haircut, um, but that really has nothing to do with the video. So on this video, let's check out what I'm running. So I actually have a new setup, new to me anyway. This is an HP Pavilion G7, and I was able to pick this up for a steal. Somebody locally had this on sale on Facebook Marketplace for $5. All that it was really missing was a hard drive and RAM, and it takes DDR3 SODIMM RAM, and I had a few sticks lying around. I think the max, it's got two DIMM slots. I think the max in each would be 4 gigs. So the maximum the whole computer will take is 8 gigabytes, but I maxed it out. So I've got 8 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM in here. This computer's got a AMD. It says it's an A6 Vision. I don't know. Let's check out the about screen here. So this is, I think it's Bluestar Linux, and it's based on Arch. I did have to download a few things here, but let's see if we go into the terminal, and we'll just pull up. Well, look, it just automatically pops up some stuff here. So Bluestar Linux doesn't say a whole lot there, does it? Let's do. I think I got fast fetch on here. So it lists the OS as Arch. So this is an Arch-based Linux distro, but it is Bluestar. So like if I scroll back up to what it lists in just the console when you launch it, it says here Bluestar Linux x86 underscore 64. It's not a version number. That's just that's the CPU architecture. Architect. It's the CPU. It's the CPU. And it's a 64-bit CPU. So that's all that means. It's an x86. So this is an A6 Vision, and these chips are pretty old. On the sticker here, it says it's a quad core. I don't know if it. I mean, it does say here AMD A6 3420M with Radeon HD graphics, and it does say here it's got a 4 in the brackets. So I'm guessing that means 4 cores, quad core. But this is my new setup right now. My old setup, which I still own, my distro hopper, has an odd thing going on with it, and I'll have to somehow see if I can get a fix. But basically, it will no longer boot from USB, so I can't get a new OS to install. So the only way I can test a new OS on it for the time being anyway is to basically install an OS to the hard drive on a separate computer, I guess, then take the hard drive out of that computer, put it back in my original distro hopper, which was my EliteBook 8440p, I think is what it was, or what it is. It's kind of a similar setup. It's obviously that's got an Intel CPU. This has an AMD CPU. Both were very similar price points. That one was, I think, $7.85. I kept the sticker on it, just so I could show that that's what I paid for it. And this computer that I'm testing out right now was $5 on Facebook Marketplace. Obviously, somebody was just trying to get rid of it without just throwing it away, and they made $5 off of it. It didn't come with a hard drive or RAM, so those were the only two things I had to supply, and I had those available. So I just kind of put it together. I guess if you wanted to count in the cost of the RAM and the hard drive, along with the $5 I paid for the computer itself, I'm maybe somewhere between $20 to $25 total, that I've got in on this system. So it's cool. So we got a $20 to $25 computer basically, and yeah, again, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I do this a lot just to kind of show that you can do a lot with this older technology. I'm making a video. I mean, if you're not creating content or I guess gaming hardcore, a setup like this is probably enough for whatever you're wanting to do. I play so far in my Linux setups. I play K Patience, which is solitaire. Um, but that's just because these are older machines. I mean, if you look at these are like well over 10 years old. These are like from 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. And we're in 2026 right now. So these are definitely older machines. This laptop here has a sticker on it that says Windows 7. So that was the operating system that was the most widely used when this laptop was when it hit the market. Um, so yeah, but it runs Bluestar just fine, and so that's what I'm going with. And I can by installing Bluestar to it, I'm then able to install OBS. I can record a video. I can install Caden Live. I can edit my video, and I can still access the internet, obviously, and I can upload my videos to YouTube. But that all aside, I tend to get long-winded in my videos about the hardware that I'm running, just because I guess you could maybe sense it that I'm a little passionate about these older machines. Um, and if you've watched any of my old videos, it's just because I grew up with computers. My first computer in my house was a Commodore VIC-20, and then we got a Commodore 64, and I just thought those computers when I was growing up were just like the coolest devices, and the fact that you could just pop in a floppy disk and type in load, what was it? Load, it wasn't parentheses, quotations, load quotation, open quote, whatever the name of the file was, close quote, and then like comma 8, I think, if it was in the floppy drive, and then you hit enter and it would load the file, which for me was almost always a game. I didn't do anything on my 64 but game, but I just thought that those were so cool back when I was younger. And then my family kind of upgraded to Windows desktop computers when I hit high school. We got our first, I think it was a 386, but it ran Windows. It was like Windows 3.1. This was a long time ago. Um, but yeah, I mean, I remember I launched, I think it was Word for Windows, and I immediately typed up a little short story, and I showed it to my parents, and I was like so proud. And I was just like, these computers can do anything. And around that time, I think was like when the first Jurassic Park movie came out. I think it was around that time that I got that my family got that computer, and they were doing so much with computer graphics and everything. I was just like these. I for some reason at that point I didn't know a whole lot about computers and hardware, and I didn't understand that maybe my computer had way more limitations than the computers that the studios were using to create those films. So in my head, I just thought I have the machine that they used to make Jurassic Park. I have this at home. I didn't, but somewhere in my head, I connected the two to be equal. And yeah, and I don't know. I've always been kind of like fascinated with them. I guess I still kind of come from that mindset when you put one of these computers in front of me, and especially if you tell me you're going to sell me one for $5, I'm like, well, what can I do with this computer? And in this case, I can install Linux, and I can create videos, I can edit videos, I can produce videos, and I can connect a microphone to it, to make my videos sound better. Hopefully, I'm not quite like an audiophile, so I am able to kind of see. I don't want to say trends. That I don't like the sound of that word, but I can see where maybe where people who are into creating content tend to gravitate towards when it comes to like what's considered high end. Of course, I see a lot of USB mics like what is it? Whatever, whoever makes the snowball, Blue, is that what it is? I've never owned one. Um, but when I started kind of investigating options for recording audio, this brand popped up. This is a Zoom. This is actually a camera. This is a Zoom Q2 HD camera, but Zoom makes really good microphones. At least consumer, really good consumer microphones. And so that's what I use this for. In fact, the screen on this, I bought it used. I bought it off of eBay, and the screen on this is not the best. I mean, it'll still record video, but you won't be able to see much on the screen because I don't know if somebody left it out in the sunlight or what. But it didn't matter because that was never the point of me purchasing it. The point was this ball that's in here, this microphone that it comes with is a good microphone, especially for like the price point definitely, but the fact that it's a consumer device. Anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent, but I said all that to kind of piece together or to describe how I piece together my setup, um, because I look at like what you can buy now for $5 for, I think this was like maybe 25 dollars, and for some reason my mind always goes back to when I was younger or when I first saw these devices, and I'm like, this computer, I don't know how much this computer retailed for, to be honest with you, but it had to be a couple $100 probably. So like, oh, somebody's going to sell me this $200 computer for $5. Okay, I'll buy it. And somebody's going to sell me this. I think this was also probably like a $200 or $300 camera when it was launched, and I'm pretty sure I picked it up for between $20 and $40, something like that. I mean, it was eBay, so I had to pay for shipping and taxes. So I know it was under 40, but it was probably over 20. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the mindset that I approach all this stuff. Is like I remember when these things launched and they were like the coolest thing ever, and now I can own it, and I don't care that there's that there's cooler, newer things out there. This is what I want to do, and as long as this machine will allow me to do it, then good enough. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's where I'm at with some of this new equipment. But I am really concerned about my original distro hopper. And that was my HP EliteBook 80. What was it? 8440p, I think is what it is. And I still have it, and it still runs, but I can't get it to boot from USB, which is what I need it to do in order to install a new operating system to the hard drive that's in there, um, to just make the process easier. I mean, I can always keep removing the hard drive, installing an OS to the hard drive, and then putting the hard drive back in the computer. But that just seems like a bunch of unnecessary steps. If anybody is watching this video, and don't think that I won't do some of this research on my own, but if you've done the research and you know how to fix it, I don't know what the issue is. It's got, so what happened was I was installing new operating systems like on a weekly basis on that computer, no problem. And the last OS I installed on it was, and I did do a video on it. It was Fedora. It's Fedora 44. That's what it is. So I installed that, and it works, and that's what's still on there. I installed it, but I don't know if that's what caused it or if that's what triggered it. But whatever happened during the installation process, in my opinion, it triggered something in the machine to like not allow me to change the sequence of how the motherboard boots. It's like it switched because it used to always look for USB devices first, and now it seems like it always wants to check the hard drive first and boot from the hard drive, and it's like it locked me out of the BIOS settings. So it's not like I almost can't change the order in which the boot order on the computer. So I can't seem to get it to just run an OS from the USB, so I can continue the process as I had it before, and just continue to install operating systems, new operating systems onto that computer through USB. Um, so anyway, all that being said, that's kind of how I ended up here. So I already had this computer before I ran into the problem on that computer. I just saw it listed on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought, oh, $5 computer. Um, I had purchased used computers, used laptops in the past, and they almost always, for some reason, seem to be Intel based laptops. I don't know why. I don't think Intel processors are bad or any. I mean, that's mostly what I use. Although my main gaming computer laptop, um, up until recently, was an AMD Ryzen laptop. All the used computers I was buying were all Intel based. It seemed like, and I ever since I started, getting into Linux, it seems like a lot of people like there's different camps within people who are in this Linux world, and it seemed like there's a lot of pro AMD people, um, and so I thought, well, why not? It's $5. What do I have to lose but $5? I'm sure there's something I could scavenge off of this machine that'll be worth the $5 that this person is asking for. But the machine actually works. I just had to put in a hard drive and some RAM, and bam, it works. I already had a charger that was compatible with it. Um, it doesn't have a battery, so I will say that I do have it plugged in right now. But other than that, like it's a fully functional computer. So I've got my fast fetch up on the screen there, so you can see some of the specs of what I'm running. I've got it recording through OBS. So this is I should probably get back into the review of the operating system. So this is what was it? It's Bluestar, I think is what it's called. Check out the desktop. This is a really cool looking like icon layout and everything. I'm not a super big fan on like docks or whatever you want to call this, bottom center launching thing. Much would rather have a start menu, and it doesn't really bother me if it's in the top like it is here, or if it's in the bottom left. Muscle memory would tell me to always check the bottom left. Just because I'm a Windows user, it doesn't bother me that it's up here as long as there is one. Um, I've installed different versions of Linux at this point, and one of my like kind of go to, seems like it always works, versions of Linux that I like to try if I'm ever having trouble with a machine is Kali Linux. That's Kali with a Kali, and Kali has at least the version that I've been installing. I have it on a USB, like a dedicated Kali Linux USB. Does have the menu system in the upper. It's all the way in the corner though. It's in the upper left corner. But it's much like a start button. So you can see like it pulls down the menu, and then you can see like all this stuff here. I could turn it off from here. I've got all my different categories of things here. You can see that I installed. No, I didn't install any. It automatically categorizes stuff for you. So I didn't install anything under graphics, but I did install Kpatience, so I've got that on here. And I believe everything that I installed off of this computer or onto this computer, I installed from the internet, and I did it through, I want to say it was Octopi. This is an Arch based version of Linux. Octopi, there it is. So I would just launch Octopi, and then here I would just type in and have it search for whatever I wanted to download. But I was able to get OBS. As you can see, it's right here. We're back in my recording. And I was also able to install Kdenlive. So if I go here and go to multimedia, I believe is probably what it's under. And then bam. And we've got Kdenlive. So it's pretty cool. If I do end up, producing the video, like editing it and rendering it. I'm learning new terms all the time. So if I use this system to produce the video and upload it, I'm going to do it through here through Caden Live, and I am going to do it at 720p, just because of the limitations of this laptop. I did some Google searching just to see what it would recommend, and it said kind of based on the system that I've got with this HP laptop with its AMD A6 Vision. It's AMD A6 Vision. It's an APU, I think, not just a CPU. And from my understanding, again, don't accept my word as like law or anything, because I'm pretty new to this too. Although I have a history of computers in the household, it does not mean I'm anything near an expert. But it's an APU, which is basically, from my understanding, like a CPU with integrated graphics capabilities. It's almost like on a lot of computers, you've got your CPU, and then you'll have what people call a graphics card, a GPU. And then if you can combine those things into one processor, that's your APU. And so that's what this is operating off of. So it's basically just a CPU with integrated graphics. And I don't know. I haven't had one before, so I would kind of like to see like what its limitations are. It's older, I can tell you that. So I'm not going to go above 720p. Not now, anyway. Who knows? Maybe sometime in the future I might try 1080p. I'm definitely not going beyond that, and I just feel like it's going to take it a long time to render if it can, and it's just going to be really like doing some, not damage, but it's going to make the processor work really hard if it's going to somehow get that to work, and it's probably just going to take a really long time. So 720p seems like it's good enough for the type of videos that I'm doing. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with my new setup and everything. I think I've talked more about the setup than I have about the operating system. But this is Bluestar. Yeah, so Bluestar Linux. But anyway, that's just where I'm at with my new for me setup and this new version of Linux that I've got. But I'll just go ahead and cut the video short here. I do like I do like the like colorfulness of the setup, how it is by default. But it I mean with the new icon, or with the look of these icons, it can make it a little confusing for me to remember what stands for what. But okay, now we're back in OBS, and I've been recording for almost a half an hour now. So this has definitely been a much longer video than I intended it to be. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.